some are terrible.
Yeah, dude, I'll talk about franchises. Like franchises are my favorite topic in like film. So like I'll talk about them forever. Just don't get me started. Just don't get me started, man. If you mention anything that has sequels, I'll be like, oh man, fucking franchises, bro. Like, let me tell you about franchises.
All right, welcome you guys back to another episode of Let's Talk About Horror. It's your boy Walterdoom back, and I have another one of my friends onto the show. He is a writer, director, producer. He has his own brand called Northern Tier. I've known this guy for a minute, and we like to joke around a lot in our little group chat that we have on Snapchat and all that. But yeah, let's welcome my homie to the show, Jeremy, y'all.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Welcome to the show, gang on that one.
I mean, like I was saying earlier, man, we're episode 46. Like, congrats. 45 is half of 90, man. Yeah. way to go, dude.
Yeah, bro. I'm just trying to get to like at least 100 episodes.
Yeah. Does that mean you'll be out the hood then? Is that is that the equivalent of like going to college?
Oh man, I mean,
being black and
somehow, some way,
overcome the odds and go to college.
Hey, we gotta get out some type of way, man. Right. That or I gotta go sell drugs on the street, man.
Sell drugs, dribble the ball, or start a podcast. Getting out the hood, man. Getting out.
I mean, it used to be wanting to be a rapper, but man, I mean, too many rappers in the city, I'm too old for a SoundCloud account, man.
You're probably going to start a SoundCloud.
You're probably
going to start a SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Let's be real here.
Yeah, I know. But how's it going, man? How you doing today?
Rona. I mean, it's cool because, we've been in this like state of affairs, I guess, for long enough to kind of, you can lead your life as normal as possible with like, with what you've got available. But I mean, I'm doing the full-time student, finishing my degree and working part-time and stuff like that. And then I'm still trying to maintain my like creative outlets. So it's a lot to juggle, but it's like, I look at it as like, it's all necessary. So.
Yeah, you got your brand, Northern Tier. Do you want to go ahead and tell my audience about it a little bit?
Yeah, so Northern Tier was a thing that I thought up. Me and a close friend of mine, who's an artist, and I thought it up pretty much when I separated from the military. It's kind of like a way for me to have like a creative outlet other than I grew up as a musician primarily, so like Northern Tier was a good way for me to like write about stuff. I kept a journal when I was stationed up in Montana, North Dakota, and that's what we call like the Northern Tier area.
Yeah.
So I had this idea. It started off as kind of like a silly, like, oh yeah, man, when I get out the military, I'm gonna make movies, man. Like that's what I'm gonna do. And they're gonna be called Northern Tier Productions. And then like, I got out and I had some cash saved up. So I, produced a short film for a friend of mine. And, we threw the Northern Tier name at it. And I was like, oh, maybe I can do this. Like, a couple times a year, like move into other stuff. I mean, we'll see. I'm not throwing myself fully into it yet, but that's my goal, is to have a studio up and running sometime in the near future. So we're establishing.
Yeah, that's what's up. I mean, I'm glad that you're saying like, I want to make movies instead of saying like, I'm gonna be a rapper, Yeah,
man, Northern Tier, I'm gonna just rap, dude. Let's hit bars, bro.
12 gold chains and shit.
That's not me, man. I'm too visual for that. I don't even write poetry. Although I guess a lot of modern rappers don't write poetry either. So
nah, they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, all you gotta say is like, fucking on bitches. Hey, smoking on some weed.
Well, no, it's just like most rap now. It's just like it's just a list of things. You just list stuff.
Yeah, it literally is.
Yeah, you just say things you own repeatedly.
I mean, you literally could make a grocery list and make a song out of it. Buying some bananas. Hey, get us some grapes. Hey,
bananas, carrots, potatoes, tomatoes. Yeah, no, that's. I mean, that's still heat though. Like I would still.
I mean, it might just get 12 million listens. You know.
Like first week, 20 million listens, man. Pulling Drake numbers, dude.
For real.
Yeah.
Oh man, but back to the subject at hand. So what projects have Northern Tier worked on?
All right, so currently I recently started a podcast again.
Okay.
So I started a podcast 2 years ago. Wasn't really working out. I wasn't really feeling it like creatively and stuff like that, and decided to retool it because I feel like this. If this is not the year to start a thing, this is the best year to do so. So I mean I started. I spent like I think maybe it had to have been like 6 months, like literally just like planning out what I'd want to talk about and like what the focus of it would be, you know, and wrote the first script and then recorded it, and then I sat on it for a while, and then I was like, I think this could be a thing. And I was like, I think I can at least do like 5-6 episodes, and we'll see where it goes from there, you know, like it's a good way to like throw some of your weirder ideas down, I guess.
Yeah.
You can experiment a lot more with an audio platform than like film, and it's certainly a lot cheaper because all you can use your mic, you know. So
true.
That's what I'm going for, and we'll see what happens with it. Some of the other stuff I do is we make like, you know, little halfway like t-shirt designs and stuff like that, which we're going to be launching probably within the next month here. So that's keeping it small for now. And then as for films, I've got a script that I've been sitting on that Rona decided she just didn't want me to work on. And I mean, we had everything going, man, pre-production early February, and we were doing auditions, and I think we did I was doing the first day of auditions and stuff, and then that next day was like, all right, state's on lockdown. I was like, so all that stuff's gotten pushed back. But I mean, I'm going to be getting my directorial debut, you know, off the ground at some point. You know, we got money saved up and stuff like that. So those are the projects I'm working on now. Okay,
I know earlier we were talking about some of the projects you were working on, and you mentioned that you've done a couple of short film projects. Do you want to talk about those?
Yeah, so I've produced some shorts with a friend of mine. Only one of which we've actually screened at festivals and stuff like that. So I mean, it's called Wine Bottles. It's just a simple, kind of straightforward female-led drama, which is completely different from the stuff I write and stuff like that. But like, I mean, it's good to like help friends out in film in like the production world. You know, so like we did that. We toured it around to a couple of festivals, and other than that, I mean, most of the stuff I do is more like I prefer to be working behind the camera. You know, like I'll do pretty much anything on a set. You know, grip, sound, lighting. Like I've been working on film sets since I was about 16 in some way. So like that's where I kind of like learned, you know, filmmaking, was like working on stuff through high school and like working on little, you know, UCLA film grads have like their little thesis that they have to do. So like they'll have like a 10-minute short they have to write or something like that. So like you can work on those and get some experience that way. Just be a cable puller, or like, you know, be the dude that holds the box of lenses, you know, like stuff like that. I mean, like that's where I started, and that's kind of where I feel comfortable now, which is where, like, you know, like if I had a studio, I'd probably want to be doing something that's closer to the lines of like, you know, supporting production and like distribution and stuff like that, not necessarily filmmaking, but so those are, you know, just small stuff, small things, you know.
That's what's up. I mean, I feel you on that. I mean, for me, I wouldn't want to be the person in front of the camera or anything like that. I'd rather be the person behind the camera, you know, directing or writing or something like that, or like you said, film grip or something. You know?
You're not gonna get into acting?
Oh hell no, man!
Everybody can act, man.
Yeah, I can act a fool, but I can't act.
Northern Tier will represent you. You'll be our first signee. We'll only take 1%. We'll only take 1%. Real good deal. Real good deal.
I'm trying to think of like a really bad actor, but they're not coming into mind.
Oh my God. I have too many. Well, I mean, like that's subjective though, because it's like some actors are good in what they're in. Because like if you're talking about like bad actors who are just like, hey, like this dude's the same in every movie, or like
really basically someone that's the same.
Yeah, because I mean, like we can name like like Asylum Pictures stuff and like like stuff like Sharknado and, and stuff like that. Where like it's kind of like intentionally bad, but I mean, like I'm oh man, there's bad actors. There's probably none that are like big in name, but I mean,
I could give you a story. I was one time in a video, a short film, and it was part of this program that I'm working for right now, and I was one of the actors in it. And the thing was like, it was me, my sister, and a couple of other people that I know that were in this like short film. So throughout this whole film, all you did was see me smile. Like I just wanted to break out and laugh in every single scene. And like you could not take anything that I said in the movie serious at all.
Oh my God.
That's how terrible it was.
Got that smiling syndrome.
Yeah. So it was funny because like in this one scene, I had to be scared of my sister because she was a ghost coming into my room. Mm-hmm. And like in my head, all I could think was like, damn, I gotta be scared of my sister. This is hilarious. Like,
well, I mean, I think like to properly kind of respect film or to like understand it, you kind of have to work in it in some way. And then like it also helps to like do the jobs that are like, I would like, you just like, I would never be able to do this professionally. Like, I say that as like, oh, there's a lot of people who are just like, oh yeah, you got to work lighting. You got to get behind the director's chair. You got to pull cable. You got to like work catering. So that way, like everything there is to know about filmmaking. But then it's like, there's a lot of actors that say that too, and they're terrible at it. I'm just like, oh God, I don't want this guy directing. Like, I don't want this dude behind the camera. He would never be able to.
I mean, can you imagine someone like Ludacris or Jamie Foxx directing a film?
When you said that, that's what I thought. I was like, most of that stuff is like celebrity vanity projects, I guess. It would be like if you had thought up like imagine if like a porn star decided to make like serious films, like other than like Sasha Grey. But like, I mean, like
Sasha Grey, she's passable,
But I mean, like other ones, like
I mean, like Brian Pumper or someone like that.
Yeah, you're like if he just decided like if he just like sat down in a production office and he's like, I've got this script for a really hard hitting female-led drama, PG-13 rated, and they were just like, dude, get out of here! Like we're not. Can't take anything you do. I don't know, but I mean, like conversely, probably a lot of people probably said that about Jordan Peele before.
Oh well, yeah, that is true.
I mean, he spent 20 plus years being the funny guy, and said the same thing about Jim Carrey. I mean, he spent 30 years being the funny
that's
dude
the thing. I never expected Jordan Peele to be this kind of director, and I'm actually amazed by some of the movies that he's made or some of like his work.
Yeah, I think that he's mentioned at one point where like that's kind of what he wanted to do originally, was like be a writer, but he just kind of like comedy came first. It's like he got the Mad TV gig and stuff like while he was like a struggling writer / actor and whatnot. So you just take whatever's thrown at you, and it just took off for him.
Yeah.
Like he'd be a different story if like he did Mad TV for like one season and we just like never heard of him again. He took off from there, man. I mean, he went from Mad TV to being doing Key and Peele and doing some other stuff, hosting the new.
I know him and Key. Him and Key were both in Mad TV.
That's that. Yeah, that's the. I mean, I guess we just can't discredit everybody, but I mean, it's good that you recognize that you're not going to be an actor. There's a lot of people that don't do that, and I.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Like for myself, I've never dreamed of being an actor. I was like, nah, because I know I can't just act my way or pretend to cry or anything like that. Like, nah.
And that's like your first week of acting school, isn't it? Like learn to cry on command.
I mean, pretty much is. So it's like
gotta tap into that deep place.
yeah, I'm too cold-hearted for that. Oh man, but speaking of like acting and everything, so while doing your productions of like your projects, whether you were producing or you were just a stagehand, have you ran into any difficult talent or toxic talent on set before?
And I'm gonna be honest with you, like not once,
Really?
not a single time. And I think that that's mostly just because of, like who I work with and stuff. Because like the stuff that we produce is typically like, you know, when you're only doing stuff for like short amounts of time and most of your crew is like hired for the day, like you kind of don't really have a whole lot of that to deal with. Like it's a 3-day shoot. 2 of those days you're only dealing with like one of the actors, you know, so it's like there's not really a whole lot of room for like personalities to clash. And I think that like a lot of the film, the pre-production process like eliminates that. Because it's like if you've spent like months, weeks establishing rapport with your talent and like kind of building like a professional / like friendly relationship with them before you start shooting, it's a lot better. But like I've heard horror stories of people who are like, oh yeah, man, like I only knew this actor for like 2 days, and then like we started shooting on Sunday, and then like we turned out like Tuesday we had to fire her, and I'm just like, dude, like you gotta know who you're working with. But I mean, like no, I mean when we put crews together, it's usually people that I've known for like 10 plus years, you know.
Okay.
And that kind of cuts down on it. But no, I've never really had anybody like lock themselves in their trailer, refuse to eat.
So you never dealt with like anybody real toxic? No one came on the set like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be Barbara Streisand or Mira Ellen or something.
I think I've been lucky enough to get to know people and to work around people who have like not only like self-awareness but like an accurate appraisal of like their talents and abilities. And if they do want to be like the next Barbara Streisand, like they're not like open about it. You know, because I think that like I think that in like some level, like everybody who's attempting to be like professional in a craft, like wants that, like you don't go into something being like, man, I can't wait to be like the 7th ranked director. Like if I can't wait to make that top 350 list. You know, like everybody should have like a healthy enough like, you know, like if I'm gonna do this, I think I want to, you know, attempt to be the best at it, or at least like do stuff that like puts me in that position. I mean, like you're not. I mean, how many Scarlett Johanssons are we going to produce? You know, like probably not that many, but like how many like really, really decent actors who get steady work and, you know, steady respect and stuff from it are we going to make? Like probably a lot more. So I think those are the people that I've met more often than like people who like show up wearing like fur coats and like you know, like demanding the best table in restaurants and stuff like that. I've met more people in music like that than I have in film. Like, so no, not funny. Me, man. Yeah, I wish I was more interesting now. Like now I'm thinking about that. like no, it's all been pretty easy. I don't know. I really had to.
Would you believe in that little project that I did? There was actually somebody that had a diva complex.
Oh my God. How?
And mind you, I was like 18. My little sister, she was like 16, and this girl, I think she was either 14 or 15 at the time. And she just came in with like, yes, I'm going to be the next. Well, I don't know if Beyonce was making movies. No, actually, she was in Austin Powers during that time.
She had just done Goldmember.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, she was going to be like Whitney or, you know, one of the best Black actresses of that time, what have you. Oh, Angela Bassett. That's one I can really think of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she had that kind of mentality. She was just like diva all the way, and it was just like she would get frustrated when people didn't get their lines right.
Did she have like a theater background or something? Like,
I don't know. I think she might have did like a couple of like commercials or whatever. And you know, this was like something that she could kind of like, hey, I did this as part of like a program, blah blah blah, you know, just to have like something on a resume, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, so for some reason I'm just imagining that she's done a bunch of like, you know, like videos that like corporations will make to train like to train their employees. Like she's just done a bunch of those, like
Yeah, it's funny because I'm like, when I think about that I kind of forgot about that time with that girl, but while we're talking about this, it just literally brought up that memory, and I was just like, that girl was kind of a diva.
See, man,
Like,
see, you just out here digging up trauma, man.
man,
You just on your own show.
I know, man.
Like, what did you invite me to? What is this?
I know. After this, I'm gonna be like Nick Cage and Mandy and just down a whole bottle of vodka.
Is that a real bottle, by the way? Do we have confirmation? Like, was it water, or did he just do like 5 takes?
I don't even know, man. I really think that was water, though.
Dude, I hope so.
I mean, Nick Cage, man. I mean, it might have been real vodka, you know.
It's method. That's real. You just imagine this like craft services just has like 10 bottles on like the side, just ready to go for retakes, and man just dies on set. Drowns himself in vodka. Oh my god.
Oh shit. Have you ever seen that movie, by the way?
I've seen Mandy, yeah.
What did you think of it?
Man, Mandy's a trip. Like, so, because I mean, like, I guess that like kind of goes into like the bigger kind of like my bigger thoughts on like the horror genre as to like what a horror film can be. Because like I don't really consider Mandy to be like a horror movie so much as like it's closer to like an Evil Dead than it is to like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre or like something like that. Because I mean, it's basically like it's a revenge drama.
Yeah, it is.
With just like, yeah, I was like, so I mean, like it's just crazy because I mean, like if you're just gonna give like a director the reins and like tell him just like, hey, go do your thing, like we won't ask questions on why you need 200,000 gallons of blood and like this huge chainsaw. We don't care. Just go make your thing. I mean, like the stuff like that's great. You know, that's what film I guess is supposed to be. And then we can talk about criticizing the film later. But on its own, I mean, that's you only get like one of those a year to where you're just like, what is this? Like, what am I watching? Oh my god, you know, like, but you know, I think that's kind of where I kind of live in film is like just like kind of out there, like far out shit. Like, I like that stuff, man. I'm all about it.
That's dope. I mean, the first time when I watched Mandy, I was like, I couldn't get through it the first time. It took a couple of watches before I really got through that whole movie.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's too damn weird for me. And I like weird shit, but this one was absolutely too weird for me.
It's not for everybody. I blame it on kind of like the films I grew up watching because like I didn't grow up watching like normal movies. I wish I did. I wish I grew up watching like Disney films and stuff, but like my dad had me watching like obscure westerns and like weird like Japanese horror films from like the late 70s and stuff. Like growing up, my mind's just accustomed to it to where like I watch them, it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. This is yeah, that's fine. That's cool. This is a good movie or something like, or like his new one, like The Color Out of Space. Like I watched that and I'm just like, yeah, this makes sense. I don't know.
I haven't even watched that one yet, and I'm curious to watch it because I'm just like, what kind of weird shit is this man doing again?
I mean, yeah, like people have a. I mean, we've had this fascination for Lovecraft for like 100 years now, and like he just keeps coming back. We're just gonna keep remaking his
stuff. Especially with that new show that's on HBO Max, Lovecraft Country. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely a fascination.
I mean, like we're gonna talk about directors later, but I mean, it's not just directors, but as in like auteurs. I mean, like if you're talking about like people who like push the genre forward, I guess like that's still where we're supposed to be. Is like finding those writers and directors who like make the genre do a thing, you know, and like that's kind of where I separate out like the classic like horror films from like, you know, your basic hour and 30-minute, you know, maybe not yeah, you know, like just like I don't want to say Blumhouse, but I mean I gotta be real, like, you know, like Blumhouse stuff. I mean, like where people consider those to be horror films, and I'm like, well, they're not. And like they're formulaic. I mean, like we're not talking about like movies that, make you question a thing, or like, make you think about things a certain way. And like, I think that's why like Get Out had the impact it was, is that it reminded us that like,
Oh yeah,
the scary things are the things that we think of, to where like we're still kind of able to ignore the stuff in society that's legitimately scary. Like I'm
well, see, that's the thing about horror, and that's one thing I've learned. Well, I mean, that's something I've already known from watching horror for so many years. But when it comes to like anybody that's not really watching the genre like that, they just think like it's all boogeymen and zombies and Freddy Krueger. And I'm like, no, it's more than that. It has your Get Outs, it has your Midsummers, it has your.
I mean, if you think about like Hitchcockian horror, I mean, it has your Rear Windows too.
Yeah,
and your North by Northwest tour. It's like there is no villain really.
Yeah.
Like this is just
or
like,
the birds.
Hey, like isn't paranoia scary?
Yeah.
Like I mean, like that's the kind of horror I like, is like psychological stuff, is where like it's supposed to make you kind of think about things and like point out things that are legitimately scary. So where like like you can show a friend these days like the first Night of the Living Dead, and they think that it's about zombies, and then you're just like, well, it's not. Like
it's not. It's literally like, about racism.
I'm like the zombies are definitely a stand-in for something else, or in other versions they're a stand-in for like the threat of communism in the United States. And like horror is supposed to do stuff too.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying like these days I'm actually kind of surprised that no one's made, or hasn't, I mean, it might be happening now, who knows, but no one's really made a horror film that kind of like encapsulates what we're currently afraid of. You know what I mean?
Which
especially with like 20. Yeah, I mean, like we got stuff like Contagion, which I guess is like the closest thing we get to this, and you got
Contagion. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't really care for it. I mean, yeah. I feel like the movie Wreck is more of a better film that kind of is relative to what we're dealing with today.
It'd be an extreme version of it, yeah. Yeah, you're right. That would be terrifying. Oh my god. But I mean,
like, the first two Wrecks were good. Those last two were terrible.
But I mean, like for me, like the stuff that I'm afraid of is like white supremacists forming a posse on the county steps. You know what I mean? Like we haven't, and the closest stuff we're gonna get to that is stuff like I've already forgotten the name of it, the Purge. But like even like, that's not the same perspective, I think, that I'm talking about, and that's
it's pretty close.
It's close, but I mean, like I think Get Out gets to the heart of that a lot harder than like anything that like a Blumhouse type of production would do. But
well, since we are kind of like in that area of like talking about directors and everything, I wanted to make a little game out of like directors with you, since so when I actually, for like, kind of like some of the movies that you watch and kind of like, what kind of horror knowledge you have of, I mean, you admit that you weren't like the best, for like knowing horror off rip.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. I watch them, but it's not the. I guess
it's not your focus.
It's not my focus. It's like you got I like football, but I only got one team that I follow. You know what I mean? Like like that. But I mean, like horror films is, from a writer's standpoint, I think it's my favorite genre to write. But from watching it, it's hit or miss with me. I maybe watch like 5 or 6 a year. That I actually enjoy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So out of those movies, you said The Shining and Psycho were some of your favorites. So right now, I want to ask you, as far as directors, who do you think is better? Do you like Hitchcock or do you like Kubrick better, and why?
All right, because I can't leave the show.
You can't, okay. Man. I know where you stay.
All right. So Hitchcock and Kubrick had two different approaches to the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that like who gets it right, to where it's like, if you're gonna make a thriller or like a horror film that is actually supposed to be scary. You're supposed to play off of what we're already actually afraid of and be relentless about it. And I think that the person who comes closest to that is Hitchcock when it comes to horror, because like that was his entire career basically.
It was
making what he called thriller films that were like, dude, this is actually like terrifying. Like, I don't want to get pecked to death by a pigeon. Like, I don't know. This is terrible. Like, I don't like this. You know, but I mean, like he basically like kind of like maybe not wrote the book. There were some other directors who were working in the horror space around the same time who he kind of like sort of eclipsed, but like he kind of like made the book on like how to make like basically like a prototype to like the horror blockbuster kind of, where it's like a Hitchcock film was a big deal, you know. Like North by Northwest was a big deal for me, and I'll quote that movie forever because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But like whereas like Kubrick is concerned, Kubrick had just visions and was legitimately crazy. So it's, I mean, like he wasn't a horror director, but I feel like if he had taken the time to make more than 1/2, I guess, depending on how you look at like Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh my! I got a feeling about that. I'm gonna let you finish your point.
Yeah, I mean, like if he had made like more than just The Shining, I mean, like, well, I guess we'll never know now because he's dead. They're both dead, but
yeah.
No, I mean, like, I don't know, dude. He like The Shining was just like kind of an experience. I watched it when I was like super, super young, and like because once again, Dad was just that kind of dude. So like,
yeah,
I'm like 11, and he's like, I'm gonna put on The Shining, and you're gonna watch it. like, all right, this sounds fun. Like, I was like, this is terrifying. I've been sitting here for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'm scared. Like, no, I mean, like The Shining was just like it doesn't look like anything else. It kind of exists in like its own space and time.
Yeah.
So, like, we won't ever know if there's like a formula for like The Shining from a Kubrick perspective, to where he's just like, oh, yeah, he's like, this is what the movie looks like in my head, you know. It was, and not only that, but it was an adaptation of a novel, like a Stephen King novel, like brought to life. So
it's crazy because Stephen King didn't even like The Shining.
Yeah. I mean, he's also just kind of like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what must it be like to have your movies adapted, like to have your books adapted so often to where it's like your opinion just kind of doesn't matter anymore? Like after a while, where you're just like, yeah, I'll watch it, like whatever. Like it's
I mean, he seems to like the It Chapter 2, the one that came out.
He liked it. I think he was kind of mixed on like Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, the new Pet Cemetery. I don't know. I'm still not a fan of either the original or the remake. So
yeah. Well, I mean, like there's also the like obscure Stephen King adaptations on Netflix too, like 1910 or 1901 or whatever, the one with the farmer.
1922.
Yeah, there you go. And then like Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game was a good one.
Yeah, and I feel like those have their kind of like place. But I mean, like back to what we were saying, like Kubrick, his movies kind of existed in like their own like universe, like apart. And I think that's why they stand up so hard. Is like, you know, the only comparisons I can make is between like Psycho and like The Shining, to where it's like Psycho was the first movie to do what Psycho did, you know. So like, just by a single film, like Hitchcock pushed filmmaking forward, you know, by saying like, hey, like you can kill your protagonist in the first 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Like, you know, like your serial killer psycho dude can be likable, you know. Like, that hadn't really been depicted on film before, where it's just like, I legitimately like Norman Bates, like he's a nice guy. And I mean, like that sets the groundwork for all kinds of things. It set the groundwork for probably like how we portray like Hannibal Lecter in film and stuff like that, to where like, you know, I don't have to hate, you know, Jason or Freddy Krueger. Well, Freddy Krueger is different. He's likable in his own way. I mean, like Psycho pushed the genre forward in ways that allowed people to experiment more. It's like, you know, the existence of Norman Bates means that I can make a killer that's like, you know, what was it for Bret Easton Ellis's version, American Psycho? The
Christian Bale one.
The Christian Bale one, yeah. I was like, it was like kind of the different play on the same character, to where it's like suave, likable slasher. We're probably never going to get a perspective from like Jason Voorhees like that.
Oh no, no.
So it's like we hang out with Jason as he eats ice cream and like goes to school and like, but like man, he likes machetes. Like,
I think that would be such a terrible idea because I could see that actually happening because Hollywood likes to rehash old shit a lot. Like, I'm surprised no one has already done that. Like, they were like, you know what would be a good idea? A prequel story of how Jason got drowned.
Thursday the 12th. Coming this November. No.
Like, no, stop. I don't want to see that shit.
Well, I mean, like, even like playing off that. So like Kubrick just kind of had ways of showing us the scary without the characters too much. Because I mean, like, The Shining does a really good job of showing you what isolation feels like. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it terrifying, is that, you know, how do I make a haunted house scary, basically? And
oh yeah,
and
yeah, without having all the ghosts like pop up on you and do all that jump scare shit.
And I think that's what he was really good at. Hitchcock never threw ghosts at us. He never threw like zombies at us or anything like that. And Kubrick did, in a very, very subtle way. So like that's like, for me, like, man, I gotta say, like, man, maybe Kubrick was probably just a little bit better like towards like making a horror film, and probably a little bit better, like a way better director overall, to where like every one of his movies is a whole experience in and of itself. He didn't make a single bad film that I can. Yeah, I mean that's hard. That's a hard argument to make. I mean, like there's a lot of Hitchcock movies I can do without, but there's no Kubrick movies I can do without.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying. And to backtrack back on Kubrick, when you were talking about Eyes Wide Shut, I honestly feel like that was like a horror adjacent type movie. Like, it dealt with a secret society and all the power that they had in the world. Mm-hmm. And basically, like, as soon as you do some shit, or if you try and find out about them, you're fucked. Like, you're just you're like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, like, because that's kind of a matter of perspective too. Because I mean, like, in some ways, you can watch quite a few movies as a horror movie. Like, if you just kind of change the way you watch it. Yeah. Like, for a lot of kids, like, Boys in the Hood was probably like something like, even like watching something like that, like you're just like, this could be a horror film in like a certain context. Like, if you really
technically it's a black horror. Like, honestly, it's honestly a black horror.
Like, let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. We got a group of violent young men with a shotgun in their car who just drive around, and the only way for me to escape them is to go to college. All right. All right, man. I guess that's it. And then you tell me, like, it's just, you just might get shot. Like, what do you mean you just might get shot? That's just the way it is. Yeah. You know? Yeah, I mean, like, most horror films don't ever portray like life like that, to where it's like, this is just kind of like a matter of fact. It's usually like forced, you know, like.
Yeah. And, I mean, not all horrors force it, but, you know, well, at least the good ones don't force it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The good ones don't. The
terrible ones do.
The stamp it, fold it, put it in the theater ones are definitely designed for that. You know, jump scare every 5 minutes. Every scene every scene is a setup for a jump scare. Like that's
or the fake jump scare.
Ooh, the fake out, my favorite. I love that, man. I love that.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever seen this movie, but I talked about it with my last guest that was on my show. Have you ever seen the movie The Curse of La Llorona?
I have. I am a big fan of The Curse of La Llorona. I went to a screening of The Curse of La Llorona a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. And, you know, because like the studios will do these like advanced screenings of the film. And I went to a screening of it, and we walked in, and they hand you like the little, like, you have to write a little review type thing after, where you like certain things. And they give it to you. But before they start, the guy in a suit goes up, and he's like, all right, he's like, you know, welcome to the screening of, he hadn't said the name of the movie yet. He's like, welcome to the screening. He's like, today you're going to be watching a in-production film that is currently titled The Curse of La Llorona. And we're like, oh, okay, and they're like, it's being produced by it's by the same team that did The Conjuring. So it's part of the Conjuring universe, and everyone's like, you hear like people in the theater like, oh, The Conjuring, oh, okay.
I
And they're
mean,
like,
if you're like a Saw fan, once when you hear James Wan is producing it,
yeah,
you're like, oh my God, James Wan?
exactly. So they say that piece. They're like, all right, so they're like, but we need to let you know this. The movie's not done. And so like everyone's like, huh? Like what are you talking? There's like, yeah, so like, there's gonna be some inconsistencies in the film. There's gonna be like, some of the digital post has not been done yet. Like there's still some scenes missing, but like don't let that ruin the experience. Just watch it and rate like what you saw. So we watch it, and like it gets to the last scene, the final showdown, right before the kids are about to stab her with the crucifix, and like she comes up and she's still got her ghosty face on.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of the ghosty face, she has the dots, the tracking dots for the digital. And it's just the actress.
And that is hilarious.
When I tell you I laughed harder than I ever have in a movie theater, like I think I like, because like there's people from the production crew who are like sitting in like the reserve seats in there. Like James Wan's not in there, but like people who work on the film are in there. And like, man, we were rolling. Like I was laughing so hard because like, the movie up to that point has been frankly just like schlock, and then like you get to that one scene and you're just like, this is what they were talking about. Everything else looks fine. It's just like the last like 10 minutes they're like, oh, like this clearly isn't done yet. Like the lighting's really off. They haven't color graded it. Like stuff like that. Yeah. And then like you get to it and you just see the tracking dots on the actress's face, and I was like, ah! Oh my God. It ruined it for me. And every time I see it on like a streaming service or something, I'm just like, I should watch it. We should finally watch the finished version. But I'm like, I don't think I can. I don't want to ruin that. Like, I don't want to ruin that one time I saw Santa Claus. Like, I don't want to do that, because if I do, like, this movie will never mean the same thing to me ever again. but there's other reasons I'm a big fan of The Curse of La Llorona, is because of just how it's just like more proof to me of like where movies are going in the future, I guess. where like franchises need sub franchises, which themselves need spin-offs. Because, The Curse of La Llorona is not a spin-off of The Conjuring, it's a spin-off of like Annabelle.
Wait, are you serious? I thought it was like a spinoff of The Nun or some shit like that.
No, well, The Nun came after or before. I don't remember, but like it kind of
really doesn't matter because
La Llorona is not she's not like mentioned in the Conjuring universe.
Yeah, she's not.
Or in Annabelle. The Nun is.
Yeah.
Annabelle is mentioned in The Curse of La Llorona. In a single.
Oh yeah. They do have. I forget. They did. I think the Annabelle doll does appear in the movie, right?
One time. It
appears
like a 3-second, like the priest guy from the first Conjuring film is like, I've dealt with this evil before, and then it just does like a flashback of him carrying the Annabelle doll outside of the hotel. And I'm like, what was that's the only thing these two movies have in common? It's like, this is the only. I was like, we could have done without that. This probably would have been a fine horror film on its own, like wuthout being connected to the Conjuring universe. Because La Llorona ain't coming back. Like she's gone. She's gone.
Oh no, I thought it was terrible. I was like, there's too many jump scares in this film, and it didn't make sense to me how the woman who was being haunted by La Llorona was able to make a deal with her to get her kids back. I was just like, what? That does not make sense.
Yeah. Well, that I can't, there's nothing I can say. Like, there's nothing I can say about that. Like that movie, I think so. Here's what I think. Like, this is my only like benefit of the doubt moment, is like, I think that we're well past the point as being movie fans like you and I are, of knowing that studios understand the value of target audiences and how much money they can make off of that target audience. I blame. Do you remember the remake of When a Stranger Calls? It came out in like 2006 or 7, and it had.
I remember it, but I did not see it.
Yeah, so like it's kind of like stuff like that, to where they're just like, man, we can get 317-year-olds into a movie theater who all paid full price for a ticket because it's out. We can hold their attention for an hour and 28 minutes and they can be out. And we don't have to really try that hard, which is like, I hate saying stuff like that because the people who work on those movies probably don't look at it as like, like I'm not trying that hard with this film. Like this is what's paying their rent and like, their mortgage and stuff. So like they're putting effort into it. But like from our perspective, it's like, this is lazy. This is not good. Like from an objective standard, it's not good. But like for something like the Conjuring universe, where they're just like the people who love those movies just love those movies, and like that's who they're being made for. Is like they don't have to be good. It's like you follow the formula. Every 4.5 minutes, there's a jump scare. Every five, like there's always one character who just knows way too much about about the bad guy of the film. Like imagine like if Psycho had that. Like imagine if you just had like, what's her face goes to the motel, she meets Norman Bates, and then you just have like the sheriff of the town walks up to her, he's like, yeah, that Norman, he's a little off, I'll tell you. I mean, we haven't seen his mom in a really long time. She's been gone, and anyway, have a nice night. Like it's like, I mean, and you know what kind of movie you're watching when like you watch those, and like they're not for a me or a you. They're for people who like looked at The Nun and they were like, this is a horror film. This is what I like. And for that you gotta be like, all right, this is what you like. I'm not gonna like ruin that for you. If you like stuff like The Conjuring and you like stuff like The Purge, and you're just like, this is modern day horror, Hereditary, like like oh man,
I mean, that's the same way I feel about Fast and the Furious, even though that's not a horror movie.
I was about to say, I was like, that's an unfair comparison.
No, but I'm saying like, as far as like movies making the same kind of shit over and over again,
like,
Fast and the Furious, and I hate that franchise. It's so funny because all my friends love it, and I'm just like, why do you guys love this movie? They're like, we're gonna see Fast 19. You want to go see it? Like,
Fast and Furious 7 is the worst horror film of all time. No, I mean, I have my soft spot for the Fast and the Furious just because those movies are designed to be what they are. They're not trying. No one in that franchise is trying to. No one is trying.
They haven't tried since the first one, and even in the first one, they weren't even trying. They were just like, yeah, we're just driving cars. That's it. Like.
Yeah, the first one's kind of like the first one was just like a high budget indie almost. Like I think like Universal didn't even have faith in it as being a franchise. They were just like, like we got some people at the studio who really like Vanishing Point and those old like chase movies, Smokey and the Bandit, stuff like that. Let's make a modern day version of that. And they threw this at the time relatively unknown Paul Walker. Like I think he had just come off of like Varsity Blues and like some other small stuff, and then like Vin Diesel wasn't really doing anything at the time. He hadn't done Pitch Black yet, and like that movie wasn't supposed to be that big. I think it was supposed to be the equivalent to like what we would see if you watched like a movie with like who are these two actors kind of in it. Like that's what it was, and they were like, oh, like this has sequel potential, and like, all right, let's do 2 and then we'll stop. Well, like, here we are all the way up to the 9th film, which got pushed back. But I mean, like those movies don't try to. That's what I'm saying. That's the same thing with like the Conjuring universe. Is like they have an audience. We have a guaranteed amount of tickets we could sell to these 5 million people, and they will see it regardless of the context of the movie that it's in because they just like the movies. And
yeah, well, yes, the same could be said about Saw, and I love the Saw franchise.
Well, I mean, hey, same deal. The first Saw movie is like the first Fast and Furious film, where it's like no one, you can't name a single actor in that first movie.
Except what's his name? Damn.
Exactly.
Danny Glover was in there.
I was like, you can name Danny Glover. Danny Glover's been around for a minute. But I mean, other than that, like he wasn't the one that was in the movie that was like selling it though. Like his name's not on the poster, But like the Saw movie was the same, to where they're just like, oh yeah, like this is unique as a horror film because like there is no villain, not at least a visible one. Well, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen Saw yet, but like, you don't.
I mean, I don't know how they couldn't.
Yeah, like you need to watch Saw. If you haven't seen it by now, I mean, why are you listening to this show? But like,
yeah.
I mean, like Saw is the same way. I think people looked at it and then they looked at it as like possibly having some type of like sequel potential, and they just explored that and it worked. There's people who are just like diehard fans of the Saw franchise, even though like the quality slides as the movies go on, and then it always ends. All these movies end with a prequel.
I'm not even gonna lie, it does. But I do like I think the reason why I still like the Saw movies was because they were kind of like building up on the backstory of like how Jigsaw became Jigsaw and like how he got in contact with these people. But when you sit there and think back, like, how the hell did this man with cancer manage to know all these damn people, come up with this huge elaborate plan? And he's only making fucking puppets.
Dude, I thought at one point I was like, I got to like Saw like 4, I think, when I was watching like Saw 4, and I was like, there's just gonna be a point in this movie where they just say that he's just the devil, because I'm like, there's no way that he's managed to trick this many people and to like make these elaborate traps by himself, and they're like, no, he had an apprentice. How did he do that? Like, how do so many people in this city have such weak personalities to where they can just be like yeah, I'll be a serial killer. I know the value of life. I'm just like, dude, he's got to be the devil. He's a demon. There's no way. There's no way. And then it's like, you get to the ones where he's just like dead, but like his work still continues. And I'm like, see,
that's the thing. He knew he was gonna die, and yet he still managed to fool all these people into doing his work.
Yeah, I mean, all horror movie franchises have that sliding scale, though. I mean, Final Destination did it to where they try to explore the lore of death itself, and Friday the 13th definitely has that problem. And
okay, so I did like a franchise talk like way back in my earlier episodes.
Yeah,
and I kind of gave the whole franchise of Friday the 13th like just a negative review just because of how bad the story was. Like, the only time it really tried to actually make a legit story was between like about, I want to say 4, I think 4 was the one with what's that kid, that the child star? Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman. Yeah. So between like 4 to like, I want to say 6, that's when they legit try to make a story out of it. But before then, it was just like terrible story. Like even the first one was really terrible. It was like, it was the mom, but they didn't really establish the mom. She was just random. She was completely random to me. And I was just like,
yeah,
where did this bitch come from?
Man, I mean, like, hopefully, so like, I mean, we're not talking about this yet, but I mean, like, down the line, I really want to discuss like films that should be remade, and like if we were to like remake them within a certain context, because like whenever I bring up horror films to people that I know like talk about movies in general, I'm always like, well, like Friday the 13th is probably one that deserves a lot more love than it got and that it currently has, because like it went off the rails like by the second movie. Like it didn't pull like a Halloween where like the first 2 make sense, or like like Alien and Aliens to where like the second one's way better than the first, or like it just like second movie like jumped the shark, bro. Like, oh yeah. I mean, like even like if you look at like the Psycho franchise, those movies are pretty good, and like, but they never like portrayed Norman Bates as like anything other than what he was, and like that. I don't know. I feel like if you were to revisit anything, we've remade Halloween 4 times now, like with 3 different directors, and Friday the 13th has not gotten that much love. It's gotten remakes, but not any that like deserve to portray Jason Voorhees in like a good way.
Yeah, I feel you. So how about this? We could go and take a break real quick, and we can come back and return to this topic. How's that sound?
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good to me, man. I need more water anyway.
I feel you. Me too. So we'll be right back, you guys. And as you shouldn't say in a scary movie, I'll be right back. right, welcome back, and we are back here talking with my homie Jeremy, and we are now going to talk about Black representation in film. So, I know you before we came back from the break, you said you had a few comments about this subject matter. So, what are your feelings towards it, really? Like, because for me, a lot of movies that are coming out with like Jordan Peele's Candyman, Antebellum, Spiral, being made by Chris Rock. We're getting a lot of Black representation in more of a hero type role, more so than like the villainous roles these days. So my question to you is, do you think are we going into a space more that's like a little bit more commercial that the industry feels comfortable with?
Yes. I'm probably not ever going to be convinced that the studios aren't going to do what's in the best interest for them. Especially the bigger ones. Like indie studios kind of don't count because they can pretty much do whatever they want. But like, if we're talking about like the big five, like they're gonna ride trends. They're gonna cash in on what's hot because that's where the money is. And like, I don't look at that as like an evil thing. I look at it as that's just them being opportunists. If the Black Lives Matter movement is strong, like, make more Black films. I mean, like, what you get? I mean, come on, man. What studio wouldn't want a Black Panther right now? Like, who?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, that's
you
pretty
gotta
much the moneymaker right now.
Yeah, you'd be kidding yourselves. And like, there'd probably be a bunch of people out there who's like, oh, they only made that as like a cash. And like, hell yeah. Like, Black Panther, like you want the Black Panther movie right now. You want a Jordan Peele in like under like a 3-film contract. Like that's what you technically want now. There should be more representation because like the films you named are the ones that are like the highest profile. And like that's the issue is that like you don't really see a lot of indie Black cinema anymore, which leads one to believe that like the gatekeepers are the ones who are in control of what Black cinema you do see. And like Get Out came out in a vacuum. It was the only horror film made by a Black director that year. He's not the only one. Jordan Peele's not the only one. But like, he's not. But like, it was the highest profile and had the biggest budget. And it was a Blumhouse movie, like that, which is still crazy to me. That like, like, it was just like
represented by that company,
dude. That's still wild. Like when you look at it, and just like, and then they followed up with like Ouija. Like that was still like, you're just like, oh my god. Like, you guys will just make anything. Huh? Aw, dude.
Don't make me drink alone. Don't make me drink alone.
I laughed my way through that entire movie because I'm just like, man, if the Magic Johnson Theater was still Magic Johnson Theater, like Ma would have had a private screening. Like it would have been on every screen at Magic Johnson, bro. Like that is that kind of movie.
I think like, Get Out would have had it also. Like it would have been on every fucking screen. Like it wouldn't be nothing else showing. It would be like, all right, what's playing at Magic? Get Out. Okay, what else is playing? Get Out.
It's all Get Out, man. It's all Get Out from 9 o'clock till 11:30.
But what if I want to watch? But what if I want to watch something else? Get Out.
Nah, Get Out. Get Out.
Like
that's it. But I mean, Black representation in film. I mean, like, I can't really say it's getting better or worse. I think that like the profile of it is changing to where it's like there's good quality Black cinema being released, but like there's just still not enough of it.
Yeah, it definitely does need to get a little bit better. I mean, recently I watched Tales from the Hood, and I was looking at the rating for it. It had a 25% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm looking like, but this movie is really not that bad. It's actually a really decent film, I mean, yeah, maybe it has the play on the words of Tales from the Crypt, and they call it Tales from the Hood. And yeah, maybe they're calling it a horror comedy instead of just a horror anthology, but it's still a good film. Like, with the stories that's being told in it, it's very relative to what's happening to today. You know, between like the police brutality that's in the film, the gang violence that you see in the film that just really hasn't stopped in like all the major cities, really, you know, or any cities at that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's still relative. Like everything about it was like really good. I mean, I wouldn't say like it was the best, but the context of the movie was really good.
Yeah, it deserves more credit for its for its subject matter, because I mean it was released in the 90s when
Yeah.
that stuff was a lot more precedent, because we were coming right off of like Rodney King, and you know, there's, man, that decade was crazy. But like, I mean, even like today, I mean, Tales from the Hood kind of exists in its own time, because like when those movies are made, especially like at the time it was made, they're discredited as being black cinema rather than like cinema.
And that's my problem with it. Like when they classify things as black cinema, they don't really give it its fair due.
Yep.
You know, like
we're on a different shelf, and like
yeah.
it's like they group it in there with that, like you know, like Bones, you know, like that.
Oh yeah,
that Snoop Dogg horror film or something like that, or like Candyman 3 or something, or like that's usually the group that it gets lumped into, and like they never get taken seriously because they're like, oh, it had a $85,000 budget, and like, you know, no one cares. Ari Aster, bro, give him all of the money. But I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Is like I think Jordan Peele is kind of like the right kind of guy for this, because like he's definitely earned his spot. But at the same time, like I know that there are more Jordan Peeles out there, and Jordan Peele has a spot because Jordan Peele is liked by the people who gave him that spot. Like, you know, you don't work at Comedy Central for a while without shaking the right hands and stuff, and like that's that's part of the process. But like, I mean, you know, it's the same with you know, if you were talking about like, you know, dude that directed Black Panther, whose name I continuously forget. I suck. I always forget his name. I always forget his name. Oh my god, this is gonna drive me nuts. There we go. I mean, like, if we're talking about like Ryan Coogler, who like, you know, made an indie and like did it kind of like the normal way, to where it's like you make an indie film and then like it gets noticed, and then like you get approached by a dude at Sundance, and he's like, hi, I'd like to give you $2 million to make a movie I wrote, you know, and
yeah.
Yeah, there's those guys out there that are still there, but I mean, like, if all the attention's directed at Jordan Peele, then like we're gonna start to feel way more rare than we already are. To where like if the only black horror director we have in existence is Jordan Peele and like Ryan Coogler and
you know,
like a couple others.
It kind of reminds me of that time when Tyler Perry was the only black director allowed to make movies, and any other black director that came up, they were just silenced or ignored.
Yeah, Tyler Perry single-handedly like rebooted BET.
Yeah,
like he basically like alone created like 60% of their content for the next like 10 years forever.
Yeah,
like he's oh my god, like yeah. TV One and stuff. I mean, like, you know, a lot of this can probably be blamed on like BET as an outlet, because like rather than like BET producing stuff that is supposed to be like good and targeted, because, you know, once again we're talking about like targeted audiences, so like BET has their target audience. They know exactly who watches BET, and the people who watch BET probably aren't watching the same stuff that we are, and
yeah,
at least probably not in the same way. But like BET probably could have had like you know, PBS has a master showcase. Like BET could also like showcasing, you know, black cinema from, you know, the American South, or like from the Chicago Film School, from UCLA Film School, or something like that. Like showing like older black cinema from like the early 30s, and BET could have done that, whether or not people watch it. But instead we get like the Bobby Brown story and baby boy freaking 4 times a day.
I feel like that has everything to do with culture also. Like that like we're being told as black people what we should be watching, instead of, you know, being, you know, having our own mindset of like, this is not what everybody wants to watch. You know, not everybody wants to be Bobby Brown, doing sniffing cocaine and beating up on bitches and everything like that,
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be in a Tyler Perry. Not every black woman wants to be in a Tyler Perry film where she's, getting beaten on by her dark-skinned husband and she ends up finding love with some light-skinned guy who believes in God or something like that.
Dark-skinned, bald husband.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. The Boondocks mentioned that.
he has to be bald. Bald means evil.
Yeah.
He's cheating on you with a 5'3" blonde woman, and he's gonna kick you out the house in the most brutal way possible. Shows up, you just don't live here anymore. I don't love you. Get out.
It's so funny because I remember going to my aunt's house every holiday. Well, not every holiday, but it was mainly the main ones Thanksgiving and Christmas. And almost every year, and this is when I was young too. This is in the years the early 2000s and the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. So we would always go to her house because that was the spot to go for the holidays. And every year it would be some kind of inappropriate video that would be playing. It would be a Tyler Perry film or a Dave Chappelle stand-up comedy. So one year, she had a Tyler Perry film that was playing, and I wanted to watch it, but I didn't know much about Tyler Perry and what he does in his films. I just wanted to watch it because I think Janet Jackson was in the movie. So I'm looking at the movie, and all I see is Janet Jackson getting her ass kicked. And I'm sitting there I do not want to watch this shit. That's all I kept thinking. It was what is going on? And then after watching it for a while, all I kept seeing was all these women getting cheated on, beaten on, and just all this unnecessary drama. And I'm just sitting here who gets satisfaction watching this shit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Black culture in general has a habit of telling ourselves what we're supposed to like, which a lot of other, especially if you're talking artistic cultures, don't do. At least not in the way that I've observed it. We're the only ones who really tell us you need to watch Boys in the Hood in order to be black. Which is funny because I'm wearing a Boys in the Hood shirt right now. But I mean, we tell ourselves what we're supposed to like, and I think that's what BET cashes in on is we want to be able to celebrate our history, and our history doesn't really include a lot of the artistic merits of other cultures too much. Our history of our culture is the five steps, the Bobby Brown story. What's love got to do with it? Soul food, the wood, and then waiting to exhale, just on repeat. That's apparently our history, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just that's what we're told that we have to do. So it's really hard for them to do something to where it's you could totally have a Black cinema masterclass where you just showcase Black films on Saturday or on Sunday. We don't have to have reruns of the BET Awards from 1998 all the time. We don't need that. And I mean, TV One was supposed to do that, and TV One failed because it's just reruns of the Jeffersons. And then you think that Oprah Winfrey would get in that with the O Network, and that's not it at all. But I mean, I think that's part of the problem is to where it's if we can't agree on what we're supposed to be kind of aspiring towards, and all we're gonna get is reruns of Baby Boy, and Jordan Peele is gonna exist in a vacuum because one, the future Jordan Peels are down there I'm never gonna break into that because we've already got a guy. So he either has to die or retire for me to I'm sitting here on 6-7 indie films that are receiving no budgets and no attention, and and then you pitch it to the studio and they're oh, we've already got Jordan Peele. I wrote a horror film. Well, we've already got a guy. We've already got that dude.
Yeah.
We can only have one at a time. We've already got our Jordan Peele. We've got our Ryan Coogler. And we've got our whoever else out there, and that's kind of where we get stuck. And part of me wants to say that it's by design to an extent.
It definitely is by design.
Yeah, and
I mean it's years of oppression really, and just being told well, this is what y'all gotta this is what y'all are producing. And sometimes it's just like we're reflecting on imagery that we see and just be like, yep, that's what happens, you know?
Well, I mean, that's why I asked if you had ever watched Axum,
Yeah, which
because
I never seen. I have never seen. I saw the trailer, by the way. I was like, what in the hell is this shit?
Axum, Axum's part of your history, young man. I mean, Axum is literally the first horror movie I ever watched because like my god sister showed it to me when she was babysitting me one day, and I was like really really young, but
Mhm.
like uh that was just like on the TV. It wasn't like on the TV. I think someone had gotten like a tape of it and
Yeah.
like brought it out here, like and just like put it on because I remember it had like scan lines and like it was like it had weird like
Yeah,
frame jumps and stuff.
it had the
Like,
grain and all that.
yeah, because this is like the tape had been passed around and people were like, oh, you got to watch this, like and then
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you have to watch this and like. But I mean, like, if you start off with like a film history that starts with stuff like Axum, which is not a good movie, and it's not even good. It's not good, and it's a train wreck from like beginning to end. But like, that's the history of African American horror cinema right there. Is stuff like Axum. Then it becomes really easy to discredit things like Tales from the Hood because you're just like, because the people from there are watching and they're just like, well, anything coming from the Black diaspora is gonna be like Axum because you guys don't even take horror seriously. You guys don't even take movies seriously.
And I
They're
feel like that's the problem too. Like, there's too many comedies where like they push like the horror comedies, like scary movies, more than anything else. You know, if it was like a
yeah,
whole black cast that did like a traditional horror film.
yeah. I mean, Candyman strays away from that a lot actually. Like the first one, which is a very straight horror film.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, like we never really got anything from that because this is well before the era of like quick cash-ins that
Mm-hmm.
kind of like took off afterwards. Which is, I mean, to bring us back to point, I mean, like Jordan Peele picking up Candyman, it's like it's kind of a double-edged sword because like I can see Candyman probably being of like a super high quality, but then it's like that's it. Like
Yeah.
you get one high quality film
Yeah.
and that's where it stops because Jordan Peele is the only one doing that right now. And if you're a fan of horror films, great. But if you're a fan specifically of like black horror films, well, like here's number 12 like, of the entire list of like African American cinema of the horror genre that you're gonna get. You know, we'll see you in 2 years when you get another one that is probably not as good. Because I'm like, dude, like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders right now. I mean, like Get Out was a landmark, and then like Us, not so much, but like still great on its own.
Yeah.
Like you knew what he was. I knew what he was trying to do, but like it was like, all right, this.
Yeah, I knew what he was trying to do also. I mean, I like the movie. It's pretty much hit or miss with a lot of people. It's like it's either you like it or you hate it. It's
Yeah.
no middle ground of it.
It feels if like Us felt to me like a script that was written before Get Out. Like it's an idea that like
Oh, it
didn't
was.
all the way come together all the way, and then like Get Out made a lot more sense. And like you could just probably see why like Jason Blum probably like was like, yeah, Get Out's the one. And I'm like, no, like Us has a lot more like thematic material. It's a lot weirder. Like, you know, you can do a lot more creatively. Like, no, that's not what we're doing right now. Like,
Yeah.
give us Get Out, sell some tickets, and then we can talk about Us. You know, like we can talk about making that in the future. And then you know it worked out because Get Out, like, you know, they
But
checked all the boxes.
it did play a lot on like what we're talking about right now as far as like, you know, who is allowed to do what and you know who is not allowed to do what, you know? Like where you see like the one black family who is rich, but they're not really like being accepted by their predominantly white counterparts, you know?
Yeah.
And then you got the underground sewage people, you know, they're all, you know, poor, you know, disenfranchised, but they all come together and they're just like trying to make the best of what they have.
Yeah.
Or like the upper class rich, you know, above the sewer people, they don't have to really like try that hard. You know, they could be mediocre at what they do but they'll still get all the opportunities in the world.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of movies like that, because I mean, like, we were talking earlier about like I kind of talk about like, you know, what are horror movies supposed to do, you know, and
Yeah.
In my opinion, horror films are always supposed to kind of like hold a mirror up to you,
Yeah.
and like these are the things that we're afraid of, and this is why you're supposed to be afraid of them. And those things are like very like internal and like very primal. Like you can be afraid of things like guns and ghosts and stuff like that, but like you're more afraid of things like racism and like the threat of like having your family taken away and like isolation and like living in a very rough neighborhood, which is why I say like in a lot of and like in different ways, there's a lot of movies that are made by African Americans that are horror films, but are written, directed, and marketed in such a way as they are not. Because like I like, even if you watch something like that's relatively innocuous, like Dear White People,
Yeah.
like Dear White People is basically like a hardcore take on like a different world. Do you remember that show, the Cosby Show spinoff, where like they go off to college? Like it's basically just a hardcore version of that. But like if you watch it in a different way, to where it's like if the protagonist is a gay black kid at an all white school in the South, like it becomes a different movie. And like with a couple tweaks to the script, you could make that like terrifying. You know, like it becomes like it becomes like Higher Learning really quick. If you ever saw that, like it becomes a very, very different movie, to where it's just like, hey, like the Klan's on campus and they're terrifying to me, like by virtue of this. And like we don't really make movies like that because, you know, that's legitimate horror. But like I think that's why stuff like Get Out is important, is because like the scary shit's not a dude with an axe in the woods. It's the fact that like the dude over there is trying to become me. like that's the scary part. And then, you know, the fiction added to make that happen, of, you know, taking brains out of bodies and stuff. But like that's incidental, but it's like that's the stuff you're supposed to be thinking about when you leave the theater. Is like, hey, like we had this entire discussion in 2017 and 2018 about like cultural appropriation, and like, you know, the movie Good Hair came out and like stuff like that, and like people were like, oh, that's not a real thing. And then like then they watch Get Out, and like you have all your friends in the theater like turn to you like, is that how you feel? Like I'm just like, you know what? I'm like, I probably don't feel that way, but I bet that like in a lot of ways someone like LeBron James does. Where it's there's probably quite a few people who are jealous of your talents and the things that you have, which is a culture. You have a thing that the rest of America does not. And the reason you have it is because you were just born into it. You have stuff like soul food, and you have stuff like your own TV channel, which has its flaws, but like it is a marker of your culture. You have South Central and East Side Chicago and like all these, you know, or South Side Chicago, and you've got, you know, hyphy, crunk. You've got these things that we just don't have, and we kind of want that.
Yeah.
know? And I'm not even talking about like white folks. I'm talking about anybody, because like, you know, it doesn't have to specifically be about white, black. It can be about anything, really. And like, that's what horror is supposed to do. Is like you're supposed to leave the theater like talking to your friends about these things, to where you're just like, oh, like, yeah, man, I guess I just won't say the N-word anymore. Like, I didn't realize it was that deep. Like, you know, and then that's what I'm saying. Like, Us was a miss with me, because like it didn't do that for me. It was a good movie on its own, but it didn't have that same social impact that like Get Out would have had, or like did have. So like, you know, I don't know what the hell Candyman's gonna be about, but like that's what it's supposed to do. I mean, like when we talk about like modern horror, like Hereditary and stuff, like Hereditary shows you like a modern family that's just falling apart, and that's something that like everybody can kind of, if you didn't grow up in that, it doesn't hit as hard, but like if you did, you understand it. And you're just like, dude, like there's nothing wrong with this family other than the fact that they just don't communicate, and like that is a scary thing. And like also there's a demon. like, you know, like, oh, we gotta throw that out there. Sorry, there's also a demon. But then it's like the real horror is like, well, what if there wasn't? Like, what if they're just like just falling apart just cause? Like, isn't that scarier? Isn't The Shining a lot scarier when you take the ghosts out of the hotel? Like,
and you're just stuck in that whole building by yourself for the next season.
Yeah, you're stuck there with just like your son and your husband, and he's going crazy day by day. and you can't leave. I'm like, that's what those movies are supposed to be doing, you know. And I'm like, maybe it's just not in us as of right now to start making those films from like Black culture that are like, you know, the next Get Outs, I guess, if we're gonna have that, you know, that talk about whether or not it holds up as like the current cup that we drink from for like horror films. But like, I think that should be the goal.
Yeah,
remembering what the genre means and then like going at it. You know?
But I think also, like, as far as us being Black, you know, and being part of the Black culture, we need to also, you know, kind of like promote what we create. You know, we need to support our own culture and what we do. And it kind of reminds me, like, how, since you brought up BET, it kind of reminds me about how, like, every year you get all these rappers, singers always talking about how the Grammys is always discrediting them in their albums and what have you. But it's like, we don't need the Grammys, because the Grammys will not ever really fully appreciate our music. You know, and I mean, I'm guilty of this, because maybe because of like the atmosphere of the BET Awards, but they need to clean up the BET Awards, in my opinion, in a way, you know, to where like maybe the BET Awards should be the next Grammys, you know? Let's take the ratchet, let's stop trying to be the most ratchet person at the Grammy Awards. I'm not the Grammy Awards, but at the BET Awards.
The BET Awards, yeah.
You know,
like, 'cause the Grammys are getting kind of ratchet too.
I mean, yeah, the Grammys are getting kind of ratchet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Part of that is that like that reverse ceiling effect, where it's like you think that what it means to have made it is to be on equal plane with like who started. So like the Grammys are older than the BET Awards, so like we can only hold ourselves in the same esteem as like whoever gets a Grammy, because like the Grammys for the better part of the century have been the best music we produced this year.
Yeah.
And, you know, naturally we're going to want a piece of that. But like, if they don't let you in for years and years and years, and the closest thing you get is like the NAACP Image Awards.
Yeah.
And like, and that's fine. That's recognition, because I mean, there's country music awards, because they understand that too, to where it's like, well, country music isn't widely accepted in the United States in the same way that like pop is. So like, it's going to be really hard for Taylor Swift to win Best Country Album in that category unless she goes to the CMTs or the CMAs. And I mean, like, everyone has awards. Everyone has awards. MTV has awards. You know,
yeah.
Random newspapers have awards, and I mean, that's just us trying to be accepted. You know, and like, it is important for us to support ourselves, but I also want to have the caveat that it has to be good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Nah. I definitely really do believe it should be good. Also, I'm not saying support any crap.
we can't support ourselves just because. We got to stop this whole like, you're not allowed to fail. I'll support whatever you do. Like, nah, bro, your movie was bad. Like, this was bad. This was a terrible film, and it needs to go away. You're like, nah, he's Black. You got to support it. No, I don't. Like, I am not spending my money on this. This is horrible. Like, no, I mean, like, and that's where stuff like Axum, where people are like, well, this is part of the history of cinema. I'm like, dude, this movie's bad. Like, it's not part of this.
I was just about to say that too, and drawing back to like paying for movies. I feel like when we was talking about Axum, The Curse of La Llorona, there should be a fixed price to see those movies. like there should be a fixed price. All bullshit aside, there should be a fixed price. Like if this movie is getting like 2-star review, 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, we shouldn't pay $18 to see this movie.
You pay market price. you pay whatever demand is currently set at is what you pay. Or like maybe they can do like a season pass type thing, where like you just buy like a Blumhouse season pass. And you can go see whichever one they like release throughout the year.
Like,
you know, Blumhouse, hit me up. I'll organize it. We can set that up. Yeah. I'll take 15%. You know. Hire me. No, I mean, like that's a funny idea, but I mean, I guess that just goes into like just the economy of film in general. It's like, what do we think that they're worth? You know? Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest arguments into like why theaters can't die. Is for all the people who who are talking about like, oh, movie theaters need to die, and I'm just like, well, the only people who are praying for that are Netflix. I'm like, let's be real here. There's no other way until you've invented another way to have a scalable model to where you can get your money back for a multi-million-dollar film. Like, you're gonna need theaters. And especially if you're like an indie producer right now and you're working on your first big feature and you just like borrowed from 3 different banks, your family and your friends, and like you went to your old college and got a grant to make this movie and you've spent well over $1 million to make this thing, and then Netflix only wants to throw $100,000 at you to get the rights, to air it for 2 months. You're gonna really hope that theaters are open because like you're gonna need to sell some tickets, and I mean like that's just the reality of it, man. It's like you're gonna need them for at least a little bit longer until we come up with something better. But like, you got to be making quality stuff, and if you're gonna be talking about like the market to where it's like the good stuff goes out and the bad stuff goes straight to Netflix, then like I think that's probably I'd rather pay $8 a month to see just like
pure shit.
Just to see the Curse of La Llorona, like whatever, I already have a Hulu subscription and HBO and stuff. Like, just throw it on there, I'll watch it. I'll get around to it, but I don't want to pay $13.50 plus $9 for popcorn and a drink and and then like sit next to people and stuff like that. And like that's all that's there, and I think that's more of what they'd probably be going towards. But like at the same time, it's like these movies cost millions and millions of dollars to make. Like your $8 a month is not supporting that to get that back. Like, we're not making this shit for love. Like, are you out of your mind? Like, we're trying to make money off of this. Like, we didn't make the Curse of La Llorona just because we had a really good story to tell. We made it because we wanted to get like $300 million back. Or like 115 or however much that was made. It made a little bit.
I mean, it didn't make that much. Well, it didn't make no 300.
No. It wasn't The Conjuring or something like that. But no, I mean, like that's I think that's kind of like where we're at, and I don't want that to happen with like Black films specifically. Like, we might have to in the future. It'll take somebody a lot smarter than me with a lot more cash to make like a if you had like the Criterion channel just only for Black cinema, but like only like the good stuff and like only things that we can celebrate and like hold up and be like, these are the best of what we can produce in the culture. You can do that. And I mean, like, we have small shit. Pan African Film Festival, tries to do that, but they just don't get the support that is necessary from us, really. Like,
I mean, it really that's who it starts with. It starts with us.
Yeah,
and I know I'm guilty. I haven't really supported the Pan African Film Festival. I mean, mainly because I don't know where to find where they at.
There you go. That's it's usually held in LA, but it's hit or miss. I mean, like, some years are really good. There's good quality coming out of it, and then like other years it's just like stuff you see on YouTube on like people's reels, and like that's because that's what they get. That's what we give them. And that's what they put up. And I mean, like, they'll put up like movies from like West Africa and stuff like that, like emerging directors. But then like I see more stuff coming from us on like the Criterion channel, and even like Amazon Prime sometimes will have stuff that's just like really good.
Prime is really like supporting Black culture right now in Black film.
Yeah, quite a bit.
I mean, they didn't stop. They didn't stop like everyone else after the whole Black Lives Matter.
They kept going. Yeah, and I was on Criterion earlier today, and they still have a like history of African American film section up. I think it looks permanent. Like, honestly, like if you go to the search tab, but like we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So just like I had mentioned earlier, to where it's like, well, PBS has like masterclass theater to where they show like old plays and War and Peace and and stuff like that. There's no reason that we can't. There's no reason that we don't have that yet.
Yeah, it's just us limiting ourselves and telling ourselves like, well, we can't do it just because we're not being let in to do it. But it's like we need to come together and kind of find a way to make it happen for us, because no one else is gonna make it happen for us.
No, yeah, not at all. And the people who can, there just aren't enough of them. We don't have enough Chris Rocks.
Nah, we don't.
There just aren't. Like, he can only do so much. I mean, like, he's he's one of the most important people we have, at least in entertainment right now. Like a comedian, actor, producer without controversy.
Yeah.
In Black culture is like he's a unicorn. Like
I don't know if he was ever without controversy, because I remember there was a couple of things, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, like not in the way that like Kevin Hart.
Or Harvey Weinstein or Bill Cosby.
We didn't lose. We haven't lost him, you know. And like he's been doing this thing pretty steady for forever. And like, I mean, like even we've had like we get gems sometimes. I mean, Eddie Murphy made the Dolomite movie a couple years back, and like that's important to me because I grew up watching those movies. I grew up watching Badass and.
I mean, those are the
sweet backs, super sweet song. Yeah, like you know, I grew up watching Dolomite.
Girls, as Childish Gambino would say. You know, a black man wearing like a fedora with a suit, slapping women on the streets.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. I mean, that's what we grew up on, is watching stuff like Dolomite, because that's what was on. Those are the tapes we owned. So like, you know, when I saw like Dolomite is my name, I was like, dude, I was like, this isn't like nostalgic, but like this is important and this should be held up as a. I mean, he got nominated for an Academy Award off of it. You know what I mean? Like that's
that is very important.
That's a big deal, and I feel like a movie like that would be passed up by the Pan African Film Festival. I guess ultimately what I'm trying to get at is like we do get these gems that come out, but we pass them up. You know, like we look at them and they're like, oh, it's on Netflix, so let's discredit it, or like, you know, it's Eddie Murphy. How good of a movie could Eddie Murphy make? I'm like, well, pretty freaking good. Like I don't know if you've met the man. Like he's pretty good at this whole movie thing when he wants to be. You know, I mean, like, you know, Chris Rock's the same way. They're like, oh, Chris Rock doing Saw. I'm like, yeah, that's probably gonna be pretty dope if it ever comes out. You know,
they're trying to make it come out. But see, that's what I like right now. I do like the fact that there's more black faces coming into horror, and they're kind of getting more. Well, they're becoming a little more mainstream. Now, are we there yet? We're not quite there yet, you know. I mean, I had this other episode with my other collaborator, Daimi Horror, and we were talking about Scream Queens, and we were talking about possible black female-led Scream Queens that needs to happen. And one of the actresses we agreed on was Lupita Nyong'o. Like, she should definitely be pushed in that Jamie Lee Curtis area, you know, after her performance in not Get Out, but Us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the other movie, oh my God, Little Monsters, she was pretty good in that movie too. So I feel like she should definitely be pushed more into like that Jamie Lee Curtis realm, like, you know, where they cast her in a really good horror film.
Little Monsters on Hulu, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really entertaining. You should watch it.
It definitely is entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the fact when she starts singing that Elmo song, I was sitting there like, damn, what song is this? And then I found out it was an Elmo song.
What about you remember what's that girl's name? The one in
You're not talking about the girl in Joker.
No, not her. Did you ever watch Dope?
Dope? No, I haven't seen Dope before.
Oh man, is it I think it's Kiersey Clemens.
Okay.
She's been doing I mean, like she's been in a lot of stuff, but if you ever watch that movie, I mean, she's right around that good age for like doing stuff like that. I know that she was in like the Scooby-Doo animated remake, Scoop, the one that just came out.
Oh yeah.
I first saw her in Dope, which came out, and that was a movie with A$AP Rocky and yeah, one of my favorite movies of that year. And Austin, I mean, great actress. I mean, like you could even throw somebody like, why hasn't Zoe Kravitz done a horror film yet? You know, like, I mean, those are the ones that I would like hold up as kind of like the future of the talent. You know, like
Zoe Kravitz or Zoe Saldana. You know,
yeah, she's probably a little older.
Yeah,
she's over that age probably.
I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is old and she's still doing horror movies. You know, Dee Wallace is old too, and she's legendary. She's still doing movies.
Jamie Lee Curtis is eating that yogurt though. That's what keeps you young and spry. That's where that's at. But I mean, like you're right. I mean, Lupita Nyong'o, yeah. I mean, I think that she. I don't really know what she wants to do. Like, I don't know what her agent is throwing at her. Like, does she want to be doing like dramas or like?
Yeah, because she's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, she's done quite a few things like recently.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that she's a very flexible actress, you know, with her range and what she could do in movies.
Yeah, that's rare too.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely is. Do you have any closing moments, and we could go ahead and have another break real quick?
Nah. Closing moments, like anything else to add?
Yeah, anything you want to add to the conversation? Any closing thoughts?
I mean, probably just to reiterate, like the way to get to what I guess like what you're kind of envisioning is to create those avenues. And I mean, we've been trying to do that for ever.
Yeah.
Really. And I mean, like, I think like one thing that we got to understand is like we can't really do it ourselves because like the methods of which we control those things are not owned by us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not going to be able to like start our own film festivals and like start a channel that like celebrates Black cinema and like only Black cinema, then like probably not going to get there. You know, like we got to be able to have like an avenue to like where that thing is, you know, there's no reason a Black Netflix doesn't exist. And like, that's honestly what we need. That's probably like the biggest step forward is like get some money, get some money and start competing, but only like competing for quality rather than competing for quantity, you know?
Yeah. It really does start with quality. And it also starts with quality actors and actresses. I don't want to see fucking Marcus Houston in a fucking drama or anything like that. You know? I don't want to see Chris Brown just, you know, playing a role to where he just gets shot in the first 5 minutes of the fucking film. Like
because he sells tickets, man. We need his name on the poster. We need his name on the poster, man. That's all that matters.
Oh man, I really thought that was the worst movie. I can't remember the name of that movie that Chris Brown was in. You know what movie I'm talking about? Where he got killed in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and they were doing the crump dancing.
That was Stomp, yeah, because he got killed on the train tracks or something.
Yeah, he got killed. No, he didn't get killed he got shot by somebody by the train track.
He got shot on the tracks, and then they go to Morehouse something or like can't remember, man. Yeah, we had those movies for a while. That's a wild tangent, but we did have Drumline and Stomp was like that was it for a while. We had Baby Boy, Stomp, Bring It On,
and they're all starring like musicians.
Yeah, and we had what was the one with the dance and the You Got Served.
Oh yeah.
Like, we had that, but
again, Marcus Houston, bro.
But also, I mean, this is important. The one that I think turned that around for a while and started to take at least a small amount of like Black movies seriously was ATL, because that came at the tail end of all that, and we didn't get another one of those for a while. But like T.I. was acting. I mean, that movie was good. We had Lauren London.
Lauren London looked good in that movie. I can't lie.
Yeah. I mean, I watch ATL from time to time, and it still holds up. I mean, it's still a very good like coming of age, you know, like simple. It's nice. It's nice to watch a movie like that every now and again, especially after you've grown up on Stomp and Drumline and like and Biker Boys and like stuff like, and then like every Sunday your mom's trying to get you to watch Waiting to Exhale and my God. Can I please just have a movie that's not about sad Black women? Please. Just one.
Just give me just one.
I just want one movie. I just want to watch Soul Food. I mean, I just want to watch one movie that's not Soul Food. Just once, please.
Well, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for coming on the show. If you guys want to follow him, it is Northern Tier Actual on Instagram. All right, so we are going to take another break, you guys, and we are going to do the outro. All right, welcome back, you guys, and we are in the outro right now. So as you guys know, I usually give a must-watch Tubi movie of the week. That's such a tongue tie every single time.
must see Tubi movie of the
Yeah. But as you guys know, usually when I have my guests on the show, I have them give out a suggestion for you guys. So Jeremy, can you suggest a few movies for my audience, please?
Oh man, I can give you three. All right,
Okay.
I'm gonna give you guys three, and that's because these movies are like foundational for me.
Okay.
So it's probably like really well known now, and it's like it's gotten a little bit more attention, especially like a couple years ago. People were talking about it more, but House, the Japanese one, so
Okay.
like pronounced Hausu, is like if you're like not really into like horror films, that makes sense. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's if you get like a sample trial of the Criterion channel, I'm pretty sure it might also be on like Crunchyroll. I think,
Okay.
but don't quote me on that. But if you get a chance to watch House, please do, because it is probably why my movie taste is so weird. But man, I love that movie just to like watch and just like laugh with it and like you know, man, it's so good. Second one though is also another Asian film. I think that Train to Busan is one of the best zombie movies that have come out
Oh,
in the
Train to
past.
Busan is
Yeah,
definitely one of the best.
in the best in the last couple years, because like the amount of work that went into that movie and like the thematics, the themes that it deals with and stuff like that are just like so good. It kind of does the best of both worlds, with like what horror movies typically don't do, which is like good characterization mixed with like legitimately scary elements. And
Yes. Yes.
yeah, and I think that's like that's just like super rare. Third is The Lighthouse, man. I mean, not technically a hardline horror film, but I mean, psychologically, if you like stuff like The Thing and it comes at night, and like some movies where like you don't really have a scary dude to follow. I mean, like you can probably make some comparisons with The Shining also, seeing as how it is about people in isolation. But I mean, like The Lighthouse is one of the best movies to come out in the past couple of years. So that's my Halloween list this year. That's what I'll be watching. House. We'll watch Train to Busan. We'll probably watch The New Color Out of Space again. Nick Cage.
Yeah, I need to watch that film.
You should watch it, dude. I actually want to know what you would think. Also, there's this Australian horror movie that came out called Relic, which was really really good. I was actually quite
Oh,
surprised.
is this the movie where like the mom has like dementia or she's losing
Yeah,
her movie?
the grandma.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they go to
See,
stay with
I
her.
was thinking of that movie literally earlier this week, and I could not think of the name of it. I was like, "What the fuck was the
Yeah,
name
no,
of this movie?"
I mean, support the genre, man. Give that one some love, because it's like, I mean, kind of, if you remember, like when the Babadook came out, like that one kind of flew under the radar for a while, and then like a year later, people were like, "Yo, this is like the best horror movie of the year," like straight up. And
Would you
like,
believe I did not like the Babadook at first until like I dug deep into like what the meaning of that movie was?
it takes a lot, especially if you're not like a parent or something. Like you can't really. I'm not either, but like the people who I met who really really liked it were like moms who were like, yeah, like this movie makes so much sense, which is the same thing with like Hereditary. Like I didn't grow up in like a broken family, but I grew up in one that's like very similar to that one. And like that movie is scary for me specifically because like I've been through that. Like I've been through like some
Yeah.
of this, like where your mom just has like a breakdown, or like your grandmother was like super mean to you about something, and like you just never talked about it. I'm just like, man, wow, this movie's great, But no, I would check out Relic. I mean, it flew under the radar for too long, and like
Yeah.
you got to support the genre so that people can keep making stuff like that. That's of quality, and just a lesson that your scary movie doesn't have to have a big scary dude with a chainsaw in it to be a scary thing, you know.
For real, nobody popping out on you and trying to scare you and shit.
Yeah, there's no jump scares at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I watched it, and then I watched like The Lodge. I watched Relic and like The Lodge at the same, like pretty much at the same time, and I liked Relic a lot more.
Okay.
And, yeah. So.
Well, thanks again, Jeremy, for coming on to the show, man.
Yeah, man, anytime.
Yep. Once again, before we start heading out, can you plug in your social media for us?
Hey, you follow me at Northern Tier Actual on Instagram.
Yeah.
Pretty much all handles. I don't really use Twitter all that much, but Instagram's probably the best way to get in touch.
Yeah.
see some of my photos and some of the stuff I'm working on. So
yeah. And as you guys know, follow your boy on Instagram, which is at Walterdoom. Twitter is at Walterdoom1 because some asshole took Walterdoom, and you guys know that is never gonna stop being a story.
Whoever you are.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep saying this until I find who this motherfucker is.
Just gotta email him, man. Just gotta reach out to him one day. Probably doesn't even use it. He's probably tweeted twice.
I'm trying to be like, what's his name from Taken?
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson, yeah. I will find you and I will kill you.
when Twitter handles, what is that? What's it called? Show? Keeping It Real goes wrong. When Twitter handles go wrong. You ever killed somebody because they took your handle? Hunt that man down.
Oh man, it's been good laughing with you, man. It's been good having a conversation about our interesting topics. Yeah,
it was a good list, man. It was like, no franchises though, because we'd still be here talking.
Oh man, this would be like a 4-hour conversation.
Longer than that, man. I'll call all day, dude. Film by film. Man, no, good stuff, man. Please keep the show up.
Yeah. So, yeah, you guys, I am going to head out right now. This has been another episode of Let's Talk About Horror. This is America. Don't let them catch you slipping now. Peace.